So if we get into like day one of the things that Taxstone was talking about on Twitter Spaces, he was first learning Twitter Spaces. His first moment, like understanding what unmute was and going, he went on like a 20-minute rant. And he was really kicking Joe Budden's back in, per usual. They're enemies. And the biggest thing, so what I learned pretty much is he actually doesn't hate Joe. It's Joe bringing up Combat Jack, which is Tax's homie. And co-founder of the Loudspeaker Network. The other co-founder is Chris Monroe. For those who know, the podcast network that Tax was associated with, because he also let us know that for the first like 4 months of the period, he actually wasn't on any paperwork, but he was just flying under that umbrella. And then I think they got paperwork later.
Yeah.
But
and did this happen before or after the Joe Budden podcast with Tax, where they walked off or it got cut short?
Before. Oh, after. Talking about what when Joe disrespected Combat? Yeah, I think he was alluding to like the time that Nori went on to Joe's joint. Yeah.
And he says, apparently, Tax said that Joe disrespects Combat Jack more than we know.
Yeah.
We just...
It's subliminal.
It's subliminal. Like, you have to know, you know? It's one of those situations.
And it's also...
What's the history between Joe and Combat Jack?
Combat Jack with Loudspeaker Network, first podcast network.
Yeah.
So Combat Jack and Chris Monroe laid that foundation for all urban podcasting, period.
Yeah.
So Joe is tapping in with him for knowledge on what the podcasting was.
Because he's Yoda at this point.
Yes, exactly. So he's figuring out what it was, and Tax's words are wanting to work for him and begging to work for Combat Jack.
Joe trying to get under loudspeakers.
100%. Maybe not under loudspeaker or associated with them in some way, but intermingled for sure.
Trying to learn from the master.
He being mixy.
Yeah.
Mixing a man.
yeah.
That nigga mulatto.
I guess I don't know if it didn't happen for one reason or another, or it did happen or whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But all I know is that
where's the disrespect? Like you don't just go from I like that you got a podcast network to fuck you.
Yeah. Well, apparently Joe started
what's the riff? What actually happened between them?
I don't know, but Tax said that Joe's a funny moving nigga. He always moves funny, down to the niggas that are on the couch currently. So
there are some hilarious people on that couch.
Yeah, so it's he's not a nigga to be trusted ever, is what Dax was saying. And Tax was also saying that he didn't have anything negative to say about him until he died, and then all of a sudden he was talking big shit when before he was trying to carry his records.
I was about to say, like, it probably was like the classic tale of, like, you know, not trying to outshine, you know, the master, but, you know, some niggas break that rule. And then Joe Budden, is Joe Budden, he kind of seems like the nigga who wants to be the nigga in the room. Maybe not necessarily like the most successful black man in the room, but he wants to be the nigga in the room. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, what you mean? Like, he wants all eyes on him?
I guess the easier word is a low-grade narcissist. Just like a low-grade version of it. I don't think he's
like a woman.
What?
He's calling another man a narcissist?
How?
What do you mean how?
Exactly.
That's a vaginal term.
How is how you kill
That's a vaginal
everybody.
term.
Nah, I'm just saying, like.
Would you ever call another man a narcissist?
Oh, I haven't.
You see? Because you're a grown up. What about you,
if I hear somebody gets called a narcissist, I'm normally immediately on that nigga's side.
Then you start taking the other person. Because that term is played out.
This has been played out. I'm siding with this nigga.
That's a strong word.
Yeah, strong word. Yeah. And he even said low grade to like soften the blow.
Strong word for a strong personality. Like, nigga, that's what we've been shown. It's obviously like he comes in contact with niggas and...
Honestly, I forgot what your original point was. What were you saying?
The bigger point was he wanted to be Combat Jack or, you know, outshine him. You get what I mean? Like, it's...
Yes, because there was a lot of animosity apparently because Tax was always beating him in ratings.
And then...
Which is something that Tax also said.
Against Joe Budden.
Against Joe Budden. When it was... Long story short, when Tax was active, Joe Budden podcast, numbers-wise, never stood a chance against him. Because Tax was number one.
Tax was talking shit about Joe Rogan, too.
I missed that.
Yeah, in one of his spaces, he was like, nigga, I was one of the only niggas that was topping Joe Rogan back at that time.
Yeah. He
Tapping?
Topping.
Pause.
But like, you know, on the charts.
In the comedy sector. Yeah, right.
But nah, why you laughing, man?
Nigga, it wasn't that funny, nigga.
But nah, he did drop that little bar like, man, hey man, it was me and Joe Rogan.
He
back
really
then.
no, he really was. It really was though. It was kind of crazy.
And then
is there an asterisk on that though?
What makes you say that?
What you mean?
What point was Joe Rogan at that time?
He said he only did it 2 times.
Okay.
He said he only did it 2 times.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like.
I said that might be like a bubble championship.
Yeah, he definitely didn't like put a bunch of hype on it to make it seem like him and Joe Rogan were battling every week.
Neck and neck.
He said, I caught that nigga twice is what he said. And that is a resume.
On a good week.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because catching Joe Rogan ever, you can count those.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was 1 time, that's part of your resume.
You can count that shit.
You can count it.
You can count that shit.
You
But
beat
yeah,
Michael
y'all don't
Jordan
remember when
again.
Nori went on the Joe Budden podcast though? Y'all remember that episode? And they was talking about podcast breakups and niggas who like Joe was saying that he want all the niggas to do bad, and they said something.
Oh, yeah.
And then they brought up something about
niggas to do
loudspeaker,
bad.
something at that time through that conversation, I believe. And I remember Tax a little bit after that had tweeted at the nigga, and they had like this tweet exchange.
Search it. Search Taxstone Nori wants y'all to do bad. Search it on YouTube. YouTube.
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
gonna say, Lauren, you like a library right now, nigga. You
Right.
just
What you
spewing
say?
information.
Taxstone.
No. Joe Budden Nori.
Oh yeah.
I want y'all to fail. I remember it.
I want y'all to fail.
It was like, I want y'all to fail.
Demotivational.
I think throughout that whole thing, this one right here. Yeah, I think
Could
it's something like
be.
this.
I'm sorry, Miss Jackson.
I'm looking at these rappers trying shows now because, you know, rappers from our era and they are so failing. Yo, isn't it great? It's great to see. No, tell the truth. It's great to see people fail. Yeah. I'm looking at these rappers trying.
Yeah, go back. We need a longer clip.
I was about to say, you were saying that had something to do with text?
I don't.
He was saying
remember.
that
There's
Combat
something.
Jacks or loudspeaker might have came up in that.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't.
Tax was
yeah.
basically
That would be weird to call Combat Jack a failure
No, I
at
wasn't like.
that point in time.
Do Joe Budden, Nori, Combat Jack.
and
You know,
Taxstone was
he
making it
passed.
seem like Combat Jack was really just out here giving niggas blessing, like just
Oh, he
teaching niggas how to
he
get
absolutely was.
sponsorships.
Shout
you
out
know.
to 𝙿𝙾𝚃. 𝙿𝙾𝚃 was also around during the foundation of building blocks of Loudspeaker Network. We met him at the Black Effect podcast festival.
I
don't remember.
Don't see it.
I'm gonna find what I'm
I
talking
was
about.
right
but I
there,
don't-
but
That's
Shit,
the
he
full
went on the
episode,
Combat
that's the full
Jack show.
thing. We're gonna get into this Nori shit too, because
yeah, he had some things to say about Noah.
it's gonna be hard for me to find it just because Danny took his Twitter space down, so all my timestamps that I had were literally for Danny's Twitter space. Now the only thing that's left is this nigga that did a part 1 and a part 2 upload. So now I'm trying to subtract 58 minutes
From
from my timestamps to match it to this nigga's YouTube video because I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It kind of fucked up my flow in terms of
and that's
being able to just hit play and just be like, this is what the nigga said, you
Yeah.
know? So that's kind of fucking
yeah,
it
Twitter
up.
Spaces is like Snapchat, nigga, 24
Yeah,
hours.
but go ahead, go to the stop because we are going to touch in on this nigga Nori because I thought this was very interesting.